I almost didn't read the subscriber's story because after they sent it to me, they sent one more message at 3:12 a.m. Just 3 words. It's inside now. They never responded again. Their account was deleted 2 days later. And what they describe is one of the most disturbing encounters I've ever received from mainland British Columbia. If you're alone right now, you may want to turn the light on, because this happened just outside Stave Lake, and whatever they encountered didn't stay in the woods. Hi, Sisters and Screams. I've never told this story publicly. Honestly, I wasn't planning to, but after what happened last night, I don't think I have much time. I live in the Fraser Valley, about an hour outside Vancouver. If you've ever driven into the forest near Stave Lake, Mission, or Maple Ridge, you already know. Those woods feel wrong. They're too dense, too quiet. And once you're deep enough, it feels like the forest is watching you. This happened 3 weeks ago, and it hasn't stopped since. It was me, my friend Aaron, and his younger brother Tyler. We'd gone up on one of the old forestry roads near Stave Lake to camp overnight. It wasn't our first time. We'd done it dozens of times. But that night, something felt different the moment we arrived. The air felt heavy, like before a storm. But the sky was completely clear. No wind, no insects, no birds, just silence. Tyler noticed it first. Why is it so quiet? No one answered. Because we all felt it. Even the forest floor sounded wrong beneath our feet. Too soft, like walking on something damp. Something decomposing. We set up camp anyway. We made a fire, tried to ignore the feeling, but around 11:30 p.m., the fire started to flicker violently, even though there was no wind. Then, we heard something, deep in the trees. A branch snapping, slow, heavy, like something big shifting its weight. Aaron grabbed his flashlight. Probably a deer. But I've lived in BC my whole life. I know what deer sound like. This wasn't that. Whatever it was moving slowly, deliberately, like it knew we were there. Then Tyler whispered, "Did you hear that?" We all went silent, because we heard it. A voice, faint, far away. "Hello?" It sounded like someone lost in the woods. But there was something wrong with it. It sounded hollow, like someone repeating a word they didn't understand. Aaron stood up. Someone's out there. Then the voice came again, closer. "Hello." Tyler stood too. And that's when the voice changed. It said, "Tyler." Tyler froze. His face went pale. That sounded like Mom. Their mom was at home, over an hour away. Then the voice spoke again, closer now. "Tyler, come here." The sound came from deeper in the trees, and something started moving, branches bending, slow footsteps, but we couldn't see anything. Then, the smell hit us. Rot, wet soil, and something metallic like blood. Tyler whispered, "I think someone's hurt." And he started walking towards the trees. Aaron grabbed him. "No." Then we heard something else. another voice behind us, right at the edge of the clearing. Aaron. We spun around. Nothing there, but we all heard it. Then the voice behind us said, "My name." In my voice, exactly like me. But I hadn't spoken. Tyler started crying quietly. Aaron turned slowly toward me. "You didn't say that, right?" I shook my head, and then we saw movement between the trees. Tall, too tall. The thing stepped partially into the firelight, and I wish it hadn't, because it wasn't fully solid. It looked thin, like stretched skin over bones. Its arms hung too low, almost touching the ground, and its head was tilted sideways, like its neck was broken. Then it opened its mouth too wide, and from its side came Tyler's voice. "Come here." Tyler screamed. The thing jerked forward suddenly, too fast. The fire went out instantly, like something smothered it. We ran straight to the truck. I heard something behind us, not running, crawling, fast. I heard Tyler scream behind me. I turned for half a second and saw him fall. Something moved over him. Too dark to see clearly, but I heard wet sounds and Tyler screaming, then choking, then silence. Aaron tried to turn back. I grabbed him. "No!" Because something stood up where Tyler fell. Tall, too tall, and it started walking towards us, dragging something behind it. We reached the truck, jumped inside, locked the doors. Aaron started the engine. As we pulled away, the headlights hit the clearing, and we saw it, standing there, holding Tyler, or what was left of him. Its head tilted, watching us leave. We drove for 20 minutes before Aaron spoke. "I think it's still there." Then from the back seat, we heard breathing. We both froze, slow, wet breathing from right behind us. Aaron looked in the rearview mirror and screamed. There was a silhouette in the back seat, too tall to fit properly, head bent sideways, watching us. Aaron slammed the brakes. We both jumped out, opened the back door. Nothing there, just the smell of rot. Aaron dropped me off. We didn't speak. He just drove away. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up to footsteps in my hallway. Slow, dragging. My bedroom door creaked open slightly. I heard breathing, and something whispered, using Tyler's voice, "I'm cold." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then the footsteps moved away. The next morning, Aaron texted me, "It's in my house too." That was yesterday. And tonight I heard something new. Two voices now, Aaron and Tyler, both whispering from my hallway. If I stop responding, you'll know why. The final message from subscriber, or the last message received, 3:12 a.m., is inside now. They never responded again. Their account was deleted. And if you're in the forest near Stave Lake and you hear someone calling your name in a familiar voice, don't answer, because something out there is learning how to sound human. And once it learns your voice, it doesn't need the forest anymore. This is Sisters and Screams, and tonight lock your doors, because some things don't stay where you find them.
Welcome back, horror fans, to Scissors and Screams. Today's horror story is an encounter that actually happened in Richmond, BC. And if you've ever been to Richmond, British Columbia, late at night, you'll know something about the place feels wrong. The land sits barely above sea level. Marsh, mud, water, and fog that rolls in from the Pacific and the Fraser River like something alive. When the fog comes in thick enough, Richmond disappears. Even the sound disappears, except for the water, and sometimes something walking near it. This story comes from a post that appeared on Reddit several years ago. It was written by someone who said they grew up in Richmond, specifically near Steveston Village. If you're not from the area, Steveston looks peaceful. Fishing boats, seafood shops, tourists walking along the docks. But just beyond that, past the lights, past the marina, there's a long stretch of land called the West Dyke Trail, a narrow path running between farmland and the open water. At night, almost nobody goes there. The person who wrote this post said that this happened when they were 23 years old. They had just finished a late shift at a restaurant in Steveston. It was nearly 2:30 in the morning. Fog covered everything. The kind of fog that makes street lights look like they're glowing halos floating in darkness. Instead of driving home right away, they decided to walk along the dike. Something they had done many times before, just to clear their head. At first, everything was normal. The sound of the tide, the smell of salt water and seaweed, fishing boats creaking in the marina behind them. The fog was so thick they could barely see 20 feet ahead. But that didn't bother them. Richmond fog is normal. Locals are used to it. What they weren't used to was the feeling that someone else was on the path. About 10 minutes into the walk, they heard footsteps, soft, slow, behind them. They stopped walking. The footsteps stopped too. They turned around. Nothing. Just fog. And the faint outline of the path disappearing into it. They told themselves it was nothing. Maybe another late-night walker. Maybe someone fishing along the shore. So they kept going. But this time, the footsteps returned almost immediately. Soft, wet, like bare feet on damp ground. Step, step, step. They turned again. Still nothing. But something had changed. The fog behind them had shifted, almost like something large had moved through it. At that moment, they remembered something that they had read online before. A strange local rumor. People sometimes found bodies washed up along the Richmond shoreline, especially near Steveston. Some were accidents. Some were suicides. Some, no one knew. The water carried them there, and sometimes the tide carried them back out. The thought made them uneasy. So they decided to turn around and head back toward the village lights. But when they turned, they saw something standing on the path behind them. A silhouette in the fog, completely still, too tall and too thin. They called out, "Hello?" The figure didn't respond, didn't move. It just stood there, watching. At first, they assumed it was just a person, maybe someone standing still in the fog, because that's not weird. But then something about the silhouette began to look wrong. The arms were too long, the shoulders too narrow, and the head tilted slightly sideways, like a curious animal. They stepped backward slowly. The figure stepped forward, not walking, sliding, like its feet barely touched the ground. That's when they realized something even more disturbing. They still couldn't hear footsteps, even though the figure was moving closer. They turned and began walking faster towards the marina, trying not to run, trying not to panic, but the feeling behind them grew heavier, like something following. After about 30 seconds, they heard the sound again, footsteps right behind them, but this time, there were too many. Not 2 feet, not 4, dozens, wet footsteps moving together. They turned, and what they saw nearly made them fall, because the tall silhouette was no longer alone. Shapes were forming in the fog behind it. Human shapes, dozens of them, standing along the water's edge, perfectly still. For a moment, they thought they were looking at a group of people, but the longer they stayed, the more something looked horribly wrong. Some of the shapes were twisted, some bent sideways, some looked like they were partially submerged in the ground, as if they had crawled out of the mud. The tall figure stepped closer, and the fog shifted just enough for them to see its face, or its face should have been. The skin looked gray, waterlogged, like something that had spent too long in the ocean. The mouth hung open, too wide, and inside it, something moved. That's when the person writing the Reddit post realized something. Those shapes behind it were in shadows. They were bodies, standing upright. Bodies that had washed ashore. Bodies that had drowned. Bodies that should have been lying beneath the water. And every single one of them was slowly turning their heads toward him. The tall figure took one step forward, and then it spoke. Not loudly, not clearly, but enough to understand. In a voice that sounded like water filling a throat, it said, "You came back." The writer said they ran, faster than they had ever run in their life, back toward the lights of Steveston. The footsteps followed, hundreds of them now, slapping wetly against the path. They didn't stop running until they reached the marina parking lot, where the fog suddenly ended, as if it refused to cross into the light. When they looked back, the path behind them was empty. No figures, no bodies, no tall silhouette. Just fog rolling silently along the dike. The Reddit post ended with something disturbing, something they wrote months later, because after that night, they never went back to the dike. But sometimes, late at night, when the fog rolls in thick over Richmond, they still hear something outside their apartment window. Something moving slowly through the mist. Wet footsteps, dragging closer and closer. And once, just once, they woke up at 3 a.m. to see a shape standing on the street below, tall, thin, watching their building with its head tilted sideways, as if recognizing them, waiting for them to come back to the water.